powerful, I am poised, and again, my name is Darnyelle.
All right.
Good morning, or it's still morning. I am extremely excited to be here with all of you today, and what a fitting title. And the young lady who spoke just before me, y'all didn't even need me. Y'all didn't need me, but I'm so honored, I'm so grateful, I'm very humble to have an opportunity just to share with you for a few minutes about my story and how some of the experiences that I've had can help you to continue to overcome adversity. And I know the theme scripture today is about that we're more than conquerors, right? And we all realize that everything we've been through, we went through it for a reason. I typically start my story by saying I'm not supposed to be here. You see, both of my parents smoked crack back in 1975 is when I was born, but my mom smoked crack her entire pregnancy with me because she tells a story that she didn't know she was carrying me. So we're just going to go with that, right? So she went to the doctors complaining that she had heartburn, and that's when she learned that I was coming. I was born a month later, and the doctors told her, Miss Jervey, we don't know if she's going to survive. And if she does survive, she's not going to know life like most people know life. But how many people know that God, you know, the amazing thing about God, and there are so many, but when He establishes something, there's not anything that anyone can do to usurp what it is that He's done. So I'm able to stand before you today, 36 years old, with no cognitive disabilities, never having suffered anything other than spinal meningitis when I was 2 years old. But outside of that, there's never been anything wrong with me. And I made a declaration very boldly at a very young age that because I wasn't supposed to be here, but somehow I am, that I'm going to make sure I live this life really big. And so that's been my existence ever since the very beginning. I remember asking my mother around the age of 6 why she named me Darnyelle. And I asked because my brothers and sisters have typical brown people names. And then where does this Darnyelle come from? And in case you were wondering, no, my mother's name is not one thing and my dad's name is not Darnyelle. They just kind of pulled me out of somewhere. But I remember asking my mom why she named me Darnyelle, and she said, just as eloquently as I could ever remember at the age of 6, she said, because God showed me that you were going to exist in this life in an incredible way, and so I needed to give you a name that would stand out. And I learned when I was 12 that my name means the secret place where dreamers go to dream. Amen. It's not a mistake when you think about what it is that I do today. And you know, my journey has many twists and turns, as all of our journeys do. One of the things that I did, and the first lesson I want to leave with you today, is to recognize that what it is that you've been through is for a reason. You know, I was born a crack addict. I was sexually abused at the age of 7. I watched my mom taken away to jail during my 8th birthday party. And at that time, as a young child, I struggled with understanding why. And I think that happens to many of us, especially when we're going through. We can't quite figure it out. Why me, Lord, right? And we, as a result of not being able to figure it out, we start to make assumptions about why it happened. And I made many of those assumptions as a young child, that it was because my mom really didn't want me. I mean, she had smoked crack her entire pregnancy with me anyway. She didn't think I was going to be here, and here I am. And now here she is doing something else to take her away from me. Well, one of the first lessons that I had to learn, and I remember learning this lesson around the age of 10, is that once you get here, you have to take personal responsibility. See, many of us have had adversity happen to us, and instead of taking personal responsibility and looking at those opportunities to learn feedback and see how we can change things about ourselves, we play the role of the victim. Okay. And here's a clue that you might be playing the role of the victim. If you've ever started a sentence with, what had happened was, you're playing the role of a victim. And I realized that because I was here, I had a commitment to myself, and I had a commitment to God to be the best that I could be. And that was the route I chose to take. Now, I have 7 brothers and sisters, and I'm the only one who graduated from high school, went on to college, and I do today hold a master's degree. I'm not sharing that with you to brag, because all by myself, I'm not that grand and wonderful, but God. He took my ordinary and he added his extra, and I became extraordinary because I decided that every single day I would live out my purpose, and I would recognize that it's not about me.
That's right.
See, where we get mixed up when we're going through is we think it's about us. It ain't about about me. It's not about you. Those of you who might be going through right now, it's about the lives that will be changed when you get to the other side. See, everything you want is on the other side of what you refuse to do to get it. And most of the time we miss that because we're stuck going through and we're stuck being a victim. And so I've dedicated my entire life to being able to help people to realize that it's okay. In fact, I want you to turn to your neighbor right now and say, neighbor, it's okay.
It's okay.
Who you are
is
incredible.
incredible.
And the world needs you. So learn from your adversity and get out there and do the darn thing. Doesn't it make you feel better? Because see, going on the days when we act as if it's okay to just let what happen for no reason at all. But it's on purpose. I mean, crack. And I've been to the NIC unit. And I've seen the crack babies. And but God. I mean, it tears me up every single time because how was I the one who didn't have anything wrong with me? You know, my mom tells a story. She would die if she knew I was telling you this, but she tells a story. I have another brother who, I think she only smoked weed with him, and he a little twisted. And she always says, how is it that I did the most drugs I ever did my whole life when I was carrying you and you're my only sane child? It's on recording, so they might see this, but anyway. But you know, again, I think it's about recognizing your purpose and understanding that we're here for a reason. And you know, as I continue through my life, there have been many adversities, but I never let it stop me because I was clear about my purpose. So the second tip that I want to leave with you today is to figure out your purpose. Now, we all have one purpose, and that is, of course, to praise and worship God, right? But he gave us gifts and talents. One of my favorite scriptures, and it's actually the foundation of my company, is Jeremiah 1:5. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, God knew you, and he sanctified you. And see, people often get this wrong, and I'm just going to clarify it for you. Sanctification isn't religious. It's just God saying, I know you. I approve of you. And I've given you what you need to go out and do amazing things in this life. Now, the scripture goes on to say he made you a prophet so that you could share the message to the nations. Well, let me again break it down for you because see, sometimes people get it confused. A prophet, quite simply, is just somebody with a message who's telling it. So what that means is that each and every one of you in your adversity has been approved by God to go through. And in going through, you've been given a message to share with others so that you can help them as they go through. And you know, once you gain that understanding, it makes it a little bit easier to go through, right? We all have stuff. I mean, I'll tell you a little bit more about my story. So I graduated from college and I started working in a financial services company, and very quickly I progressed in my career. I went from representative answering the phones to vice president. And young brown girl from the projects of Wilmington, Delaware, this was a big deal, right? And I loved the job for a period of time. And then eventually it started to wear on me. Has anybody ever been driving to work, and as you near the parking lot, you start to get a headache? Start to break out in a sweat, right? Have you experienced that? Well, that's what started to happen to me, and as a result, my job performance suffered because I didn't want to be there anymore. So here's the third lesson I want to share with you, is that at some point in time, who you are is too big to sit behind someone else's desk. Not egotistically, but there's work for you to do. And you can't do that work behind someone else's desk because God made you a prophet and he gave you a message to share with others. And so I began to experience that, and I walked away from my cushy life and my cushy job. And I started actually selling Mary Kay cosmetics. You guys ever heard of that, right? Well, see, I used to think it was only for old white ladies with big white hair. That was, of course, before I was the brown girl from the projects of Wilmington, Delaware, trying to sell it to you, right? But I realized that we can all use it. And I did great things. It is a great, I still use it. Don't I look good today? Yeah, I'm using Mary Kay. So I started to realize that, there's more to life than sitting behind someone else's desk. And so I started Mary Kay, and I started to have a little bit of success, and I decided I was going to quit my job. And so I quit my job to do Mary Kay full time. And I had people, when I told them I was leaving my job, I was a vice president, right? And I said, I'm leaving so that I can sell makeup. And they were like, you're crazy, you'll be back here in 6 months. Now, I don't don't know about you, but here's the fourth principle I want to share with you. When people tell you you can't, prove them wrong.
Prove them wrong.
I can show you better than I can tell you, so I'm just going to show you. And so what I had to do it, y'all. I had to break the belief because they told me I couldn't. So I went out and I got me a pink Cadillac. I mean, why not, right? So I did. And, it's a nice car. It really is. I mean, sometimes I still miss it, because see, when you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you got to give it back. But it was amazing to drive up to stoplights and to have people look at you, and you think they're looking at you because your hair's standing on end, but then you realize, oh, you're in a pink car, and they're looking at you because they're like, oh my gosh. But what that makes me think about the fact that God called us peculiar people. Yes. See, we were created not to fit in, but to stand out. And see, many of us, because of our adversity, we're trying to fit in and we're trying not to be seen. But it's in your adversity that you need to rise up and be seen. Because you're a testament, and you're always going to be a testament for the people that you've been called to serve. And can we be clear, we're all here to serve? Amen. Now, I want you to notice that I didn't say volunteer. Because see, sometimes we volunteer and other times we serve. And in that service, we create for our families the wealth that we need in order to do the things that we need to do. Because the God we serve, He created an abundant universe, right? Which means we shouldn't struggle just because we've gone through. Okay? So as I'm starting my Mary Kay business, and things are going really, really well, and I'm achieving big results in the state of Delaware, and I again came to a crossroads. Have you ever been at a crossroad and you're not sure which way to go? This reminds me of one of my favorite poems by Robert Frost. He says, "Two roads diverge in the wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." And so I found myself again at a point where adversity was starting to come. It was starting to get uncomfortable again, which brings me to the fifth tip I want to share with you. You need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because in order for you to do work for God and really serve in your purpose, you can't stay like you are right now. You see, when you have a situation happen and it's too easy, you got to realize that it's about to break, because it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be rewarding. It's supposed to be purpose-filled, but it's not supposed to be easy, because the work that we're doing is about changing lives, saving lives, and bringing lives to God, right? And so, I got to that point in my Mary Kay journey where it was no longer fun. It was no longer easy. It was starting to get challenging, and I knew it was time to grow again. Because you get those, you start itching, you start getting really uncomfortable, and you're like, okay, something's about to change. And it was at that point that I realized why I had done all of the things that I had done before, why I had gone through what I had gone through. Now, I've had lots of money. I've had no money. I've eaten filet mignon. I've eaten peanut butter and jelly and ramen noodles. I did it for 2 years when I was building my company, because I knew that I needed to start Incredible One Enterprises. I remember after I finished my second pink Cadillac, and I didn't feel excited, and the first one was completely God-given. The second one, I was trying to force it. Because see, sometimes, because we have a plan, and I think the young lady who spoke before me said this, we have a plan, and sometimes our plan doesn't line up to the plan that God has for us, and it becomes hard. And it was really, really hard, and I realized that I needed to do something different. And so it was at that point that I started my company from scratch, from nothing. But I knew that the world needed what I share. And what we do at Incredible One, we're a marketing strategy company and empowerment firm for women in business. And so we primarily help women first and foremost to understand their personal power. Because as women, we do so much, we hold so much, we help so many other people, but we never take time for ourselves. So the sixth principle I want to share with you is to make time for you. In fact, I'm going to actually personally recommend that you look to spend 30 minutes a day by yourself, for yourself. Isn't that FUBU? Something similar to that. But it has to be, in that moment, it has to be all about you, because you can't serve in abundance if you're on empty.
That's right.
And see, many of us, and I had to learn this lesson myself as I got really, really sick 2 years ago, and I had to have an emergency surgery because I was running hard. I never took time for myself. So today I make sure that I stop and I celebrate, and I don't over inundate me, because I can't be my best. You can't be your best if you're running on E. So will you guys do me a favor, and will you commit to me right now that you'll find 30 minutes a day for you? Now I'm talking about shut your husband down if you got a husband, shut your wife down if you got a wife, put the kids to bed, lock them in the closet. No, don't lock them in the closet. I'm not trying to get anybody to have to see Child Protective Services. But seriously, find 30 minutes just for you. And in that 30 minutes, here's what I want you to do. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to affirm who you are. I want you to create some I am statements. Statements that really talk about who you are. Now, one of those should be I'm an overcomer. Because can we agree that we all here have overcome something to be here? But I want you to talk about who you are. And as you talk about who you are, I want you to focus on where you're going, not where you've been. You know, one of the most important things that I changed in my life is I stopped telling the stories, because what holds us back are the stories we tell ourselves. Because see, I was angry, and I acted like a victim. You know, didn't I have a right to be mad? I mean, my mom smoked crack, then I got sexually abused, then she went to jail, then I had to go live with my dad and my stepmom, and she didn't want us there. I had every right to be angry. But I had to stop telling those stories because, that's right. And this is a marketing thing. So, you know, when you're out and you're marketing your business, you will make a pitch. Right? And marketing says the one who speaks after the pitch is the one who leaves with the product. So I want you to think about your life, I want you to think about your future, and I want you to think about your past. When you keep speaking your past, prevents you from leaving with the product. Right? So you have to stop giving your past permission to speak. It's over. It's in the past. And we have to do that if we really want to allow what we've experienced to truly take us to the next level. And I believe that, you know, when I look out at you guys, you look absolutely beautiful in your purple. And did you like that? I made sure I looked like the theme. I can be very obedient, Lisa. My assistant Charity was like, and the colors are purple and black. I was like, oh, I can do that. I love purple. That's the color of my company. So anyway, I got off track a little bit. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this. Realize that who you are, it matters, and you are important. The fact that you were here, adversity and all, is for a specific purpose. Figure out what that purpose is, celebrate yourself in the process, and go out and do the work to help other people overcome. Because it is what we've experienced, as we share it with others, that we give them the freedom, the liberty to seek it for themselves. And we can't keep it to ourselves. So as I close, I want to share two closing thoughts with you. And the first one, they're both poems. And they actually are kind of about the same thing, but just go with me. So the first one says, when you come to the edge of all the light that you know and are approaching the darkness of the unknown, faith is knowing that one of two things will happen. Number one, there will be something solid for you to stand on. Or number two, you will be taught to fly. The second thing, again, around the same theme, but I think it's important because we're overcomers here. We're committed to continually overcoming, is a poem by a French poet, and it's called, aptly, Come to the Edge. Come to the edge, he said. It's too far, they answered. Come to the edge, he said. What will happen when we get there? He responded. Come to the edge, he bellowed, but we're afraid. Come to the edge, he said indignantly. They relented and came to the edge. When they got to the edge, he pushed them and they flew. I motivate because I believe that people have what it takes to make it happen. I empower because I think that we together can change the world. And I transform because who you are, the world needs in an amazing way. My name is Darnyelle Antoinette Jervey. And if you let me, I'll help you unleash your incredible factor. Thank you.